conquer and we're going to take some. Is that understood? Yes, sir. That's what we're going to do, sweethearts. We are going to go and get some. All right, people, on the ready line. Are you me? Yeah! Are you me? Yeah! What are you? What are you?
The Exceptional Parent Magazine March issue covers helpful information on hearing, vision, and speech impairments. As always, there is a special military section as well. Sign up to read for free and receive the free monthly newsletter at epmagazine.com.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of REITs Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every REIT you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to REITsAcrossAmerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's REITsAcrossAmerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is co-produced with Sinister One Productions. What's your podcast doing? I want to thank my sponsor, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, and my supporters, Case on Shaving Company, Exceptional Parent Magazine, and Fight Camp. Be your strongest combination. This year is just off to a super fast start. We are fully in flight. The missile's off the rail, and I love talking to people who serve the military, get out, and start their own business. It's a special kind of transition experience that I love digging into because it's not normal. Starting a business is a lot, and this next guest embodies all of that, and he's not your typical like veteran business owner. He works in public relations, and I'm pleased to introduce Barrett Bogue to Oscar Mike Radio. Barrett, welcome. Thank you, and Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fi, Travis. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about my transition journey, the work we do at Evocati PR, and really looking forward to this conversation.
So, all Marines start from somewhere and they go to somewhere else. What led you to say, you know what, I want to join the Marine Corps?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that'll take us way back. My family has a history of service in the military. My father served. One of my grandfathers served in World War II, and I had cousins who served as well. One cousin in particular was part of Desert Storm, so it had always kind of been part of our family dynamic, and I understood that, but I never saw myself in the Marine Corps. I thought you'd have to be kind of crazy to do that. In my freshman year at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, I was randomly assigned a roommate who was in the Marine Corps Reserve, and he was telling me, all about it, and I was learning about how the reserve component in the military worked. And I remember the moment that I decided. I had just set up a checking account at the UT Federal Credit Union. I was walking on my way back to the dorm, and I thought, well, why couldn't I join the Marine Corps? Why wouldn't I try this? So I was what recruiters love, right? I literally walked into the office and said, I want to join the Marine Corps. I don't know anything about you guys or what. I know you're tough. I know you got great looking uniforms. And he was like, oh yeah, here we go.
He must have pinched himself like,
Oh,
God.
yeah, it was great. And I said, what do you got available? And he's like, infantry. I said, well, all right, let's try that. So I joined the Marine Corps Reserve I joined the delayed entry program in 1998, and then went to boot camp at Paris Island in 1999.
Were you like a machine gunner? Did you do the law? Did you do just
No, so I started out as what was it, the rifleman, the point man.
yeah.
Yeah. And my career in the Marine Corps was 6 years. And so I left as a team leader and then a squad leader for time. And I did that while I was earning my bachelor's degree and then my master's degree at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And as I joke with people, in between my bachelor and master's degree, I took a gap year and spent it in Iraq as part of OIF-2. And we were deployed to the Sunni Triangle, to Al-Assad Air Base, with the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, and then we did a lot of operations around Haditha and Hit and Al Qaim and Fallujah. So that was my career within the Marine Corps.
So the reservists always interest me because you're either in school or you're working, but you have to perform as a Marine. Were you thinking about your business aspirations while you were in the reserves? Was that on hold, or was it just getting through school at that time in your life?
I wasn't thinking about business at that time. I was thinking about really completing my degree. And the one thing for kind of listeners to note about transition is a reservist transitions back into the civilian workforce once a month. So we go, Friday through Sunday, and we do whatever you need to do within that time period, and then you're back into civilian clothes. So I transitioned. I tell people I transitioned back into the civilian workforce, back into the higher education sector every month. So I wasn't thinking about business opportunities at the time. My journey in that moment was really trying to complete my master's degree. And what I realized is that the reserve component of the military had become an operational component of what was taking place in Iraq and Afghanistan. I knew that if I stayed in, it was gonna take me longer to finish my master's degree, and I had really prioritized finishing my master's degree and getting into the workforce than re-enlisting in the Marine Corps. So I chose not to re-enlist, which was good because I think within 12 months that unit deployed again and finished up my master's degree, and then started my career in the federal sector.
Just to close out the Marine Corps side of this, what is it like? Because I was active duty, but what is it like? You're working 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, whatever, and you're a civilian. You're doing civilian stuff, and then you got to turn on the Marine switch and go full Marine Corps for 96 hours, and then bam, you wake up and you're back to being a civilian again. Like, what's that? There's a quick spin up and let off.
Yeah.
What is that like? I just never experienced it before.
You get used to it. So my unit, I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and my unit was in Johnson City. So it was an 1.5-hour drive. And so I would take that 1.5 hour going to our unit to try and get in the right mindset. We were wearing our camis or the uniform of the day, et cetera. And so I was able to kind of disassociate myself from the student routine and get into the Marine Corps routine. The the funniest part is when you're wearing your uniform and you're coming, like for me, when I was coming back to school, is I would like wear it on campus going back to my dorm room or wherever else, and you just get a lot of weird looks because they're not used to seeing somebody in a Marine Corps uniform walking around campus. So I got a lot of like comments and things like that. And then there's also an education component when you're a reservist, and at least in my experience, I had to tell people how the reserve component worked, how we were different from the National Guard, right? Because there's a big National Guard component in East Tennessee, and I said, no, 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 I'm with the Marine Corps. I'm not with the Army. And then you had to explain the difference between the Army and the Marine Corps, and they would still just call it guard duty and not reserve duty. So there was an education component to it as well. But I also, really want to commend just the Marine Corps in general because of how well it integrates its forces, and the fact that we all go through, Parris Island or California. We're all Marines. Like that esprit de corps is very, very critical. And so there was never any challenge integrating our reserve unit with an active duty unit when we were in Iraq. I mean, that just because we were all on active duty.
Yeah.
So the only time it really kind of, because there were some cultural differences. We were a bunch of Southern rednecks in the middle of Iraq. And that was fun to be a part of, if you can kind of imagine that. A lot of these guys that I served with just really had no fear, and it was remarkable to see. If we thought there was an ID on the road, like we would just kind of walk up to it. Like, I mean, it was really, really interesting. So there was that component of it as well.
The one thing I want to pick your brain about is you went for your bachelor's and then decided to get your master's. And this is kind of important to me because I had a person in that demographic saying, what do I do? Do I, I finish my bachelor's? Do I get my master's right away, or do I get some work experience, or do I put off my master's? And I said, I never got my master's, and for the full disclosure, Barrett, I don't have my bachelor's. I said, but what I've seen in my life, in other people's lives, is the people who pay the toll up front have a lot more runway with their career after they've focused on their education first, if that's what you want to do. And so I'm kind of curious why you chose to do that, because it's a big commitment to do your bachelor's, take your gap year even, and then get right back to your master's before you go on with your career. I'm just curious why you did that.
What was my mindset at the time, kind of like you indicated, was I wanted to focus on that and get it all done, just kind of go down the runway from bachelor to master's. I didn't have a very strong interest in going PhD, although a lot of people do that. But I typically see kind of two different paths that people take. One, which is what I did, go straight from your bachelor to your master's. And essentially that works well because you're already living that life where you're probably working part-time or full-time, and you're studying and you're researching, and it's really not a big change in lifestyle to go from earning your bachelor to your master's. And so it's easy to integrate that. Others will delay enrolling and pursuing a master's until they've got time in the workforce, and they'll try and earn their master's or a second bachelor or even a PhD part-time. And that can work well also. But I had the benefit of saying that I was earning experience through military service at the same time. I was also working part-time on campus and various jobs. So I was gaining experience, and very unique ones, while I was pursuing my master's degree. So don't discount yourself if you are earning a master's degree right after your bachelor's degree and you're in the military, that's legitimate experience that you're gaining at the same time that you're pursuing a degree.
You finish your Marine Corps career, you have your master's, you're ready to go. What got you into your line of work of public relations?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my master's degree was in higher education and administration studies. That's a very fancy way of saying I wanted to be a college president or a college professor in the future. And I very much believe in higher education, especially for anybody listening who's thinking about that. Higher education is the great equalizer in our society. It's the one thing that you can do to invest in yourself that can really improve your quality of life. And so I enjoyed that, and I wanted to be a part of that community. The other thing, though, was when I came back from Iraq into the University of Tennessee, I found a community that was very supportive of me as a veteran, but totally unprepared to support my needs, mentally, physically, spiritually. And that's the moment that my passion for the military connected community and serving this community was born, because I realized that there were millions of servicemen and women who were coming back into the civilian workforce, into the civilian sector. This would be 2005, 2006. And those sectors, the private sector and the higher ed sector, had no idea how to support us in our transition journey. So I knew I wanted to be a part of that. And I learned about a program called the Presidential Management Fellows Program through OPM. And they take master level graduates and they place them into mid-level management roles in the federal sector for 2 years. And if you perform well in those 2 years, you're converted into a federal employee. So I was really interested in that. It felt like a way to continue an act of second service, to give back to my community. And I was accepted into the program, and a representative at the Department of Veterans Affairs found my resume through that program. She contacted me and she said, "Hey, I see you're a veteran. I see you use the GI Bill. Would you like to interview for a job at the office that manages the GI Bill?" And I said, "Sure, that'd be great." And so I had an interview with the director of the GI Bill. It went really, really well. And they made an offer, and I accepted. In 2007, January 2007, I moved up to DC. I didn't know anybody. I didn't really have a place to stay. I had to stay with friends. And that began what was a 10-year career at the Department of Veterans Affairs. And that same month, in January 2007, Congress introduced new legislation to vastly expand the GI Bill. And the program, the legislation eventually became the post 9/11 GI Bill, which represented the largest expansion of education benefits since World War II. And I was working in that office, and I was part of the team responsible for implementing it. And I said, look, if we're going to do this and we're going to start serving 3 times as many people, we've got to go where they are. We've got to reach out to them. We've got to be on social media. And I advocated for creating one of the first Facebook pages in VA history with the GI Bill. And they said, "Great, Barrett, go do that." And that's really where my entry point into PR and marketing was, and learning about the power of storytelling opportunities. And so I became the team leader for outreach and digital engagement, responsible for all of the PR and marketing around the GI Bill.
Now, I'm an Air Wing Marine, Barrett, but walk with me here.
Yeah.
maybe it's just a rudimentary question, Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli talking to you here. But a lot of people tell me, or you read enough stuff, and it's almost like PR and marketing are kind of like the same thing. And like, it can't be the same thing. To me, it's different stuff, but I don't know how to articulate it.
Yes.
So for me and my watchers and listeners, is there a difference between the two, and what is it, if there is?
So the maxim to remember
Okay.
is marketing is what you say about yourself, and PR is what others say about you. That's it. And they are somewhat integrated, and they're overlapping, and they relate to each other. But at its core, marketing is the advertising and storytelling that you put out on your channels about what you do, what you represent, the difference that you make. And PR is what the public or your target audience is saying about you and your brand.
So right now we're doing kind of like a marketing exercise where you're talking about what you do to different people through me, if I'm understanding correctly. But PR is somebody hearing that and saying, I think this about Barrett because I've heard this. I could be off, but that's what I'm hearing.
Yes. I'm going to take this interview and I'm going to market it on Evocati PR's marketing channels on LinkedIn, Twitter, and our website. Somebody may watch it. Let's hope a bunch of people watch it, right?
Absolutely.
And are inspired by it, and then share it to their personal Twitter or their personal LinkedIn and say, hey, I really enjoyed this story about Barrett in his conversation with Travis. And I think, a lot of people should listen to this. That's PR.
So, because I used to think, until I started, reading about you and what you did, and we started talking, is PR is what happens when there's a scandal, or, like one that comes to mind is when the BP oil rigs blew in the Gulf of Mexico, and there was a lot of like PR about how great BP was, and marketing is about, I think back to Glenn Ross, where he's like, always be repping. That's kind of what I think, and I could be completely wrong. I don't know, but this has been one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because you don't get to talk to people like this every day in my line of work, Baron.
So you're right about marketing, and there is a crisis management component to PR. The critical thing is that you have a team in place with your company, or you've talked about potential crises within your company and how to manage that from the PR side. But there is certainly a component in PR about how well and what you should say in responding to a crisis.
You do all this stuff with the VA, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll have a link to the Evocati website. Sorry, I was thinking Evocati, but it's the Evocati website and Osmic Radio show post. You've worked on several campaigns for military-related entities. But what got you saying, you know what, I can do this at a high level. I've done this at a high level. Now I want to take it and do it as my own business, as my own entity. How did that process work? Because it's one thing to do it for somebody, but now you're doing it as your own business.
Yeah. So I spent 12 years in the federal and nonprofit sector with VA, and then a veteran service organization called Student Veterans of America, and I worked with them for 2 years. And all about PR, marketing, chapter management, event management, etc. And what I found in that role is that a lot of businesses would come to VA and say, we have this great product or this great service. Can you tell people about what we do? Or they would come to SVA and say, we have this great program that takes veterans to go fly fish. Really fun. There's a healing component to it. Can you let your student veterans know about this? And in the back of my mind, I thought, I could teach your company how to do this, or I could do this for you or with you. You don't always have to rely on the largest platforms to amplify the difference that you're making in the community. So that's where the business idea was formed, to say, could I create a business around storytelling and elevating the impact that these nonprofits are having? And so I, for my midlife crisis, when I was at SVA, I came to believe that if I didn't start this business before I turned 40, I was never going to do it. I had to prove it. I had to go out and say that I'm either going to succeed or fail. So you're supposed to date your business idea before you marry it. I did not do that. I just eloped. I went to my boss and I turned in my 2-week notice and I said, I had this business idea. I had this really weird name for the company. I have no business background, no business plan, no website or email. I just know that I have to do it. And that was in 2018. And so
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Barry. If you go to like Bunker Labs or any of the kind of the, even the veteran business resources out there from the VA and even at the state level, you just broke like every golden rule they have.
Oh yeah, I was in, so after I founded the firm, I got involved in Bunker Labs and did their accelerator training. And that's where I learned the phrase, date your business idea before you marry it. And I was like, well, I did not do that. Whoops. So it was a really funny moment. So I do tell people, like when I'm coaching veterans and spouses who want to start their own business, date your idea. Don't do what I did. It's too risky. Date your business idea before you marry it. Don't elope. But yes, I know exactly what I did, and it was not the right way to do it.
But did you do it because you had the higher education, you had the experience doing it for the VA, and you're like, you know what? I'm a good bet and I know I can do this. Did your Marine Corps time figure into it at all? Or was it just like, you know what? I'm going to turn 40, the runway's ending, and I want to launch this before I lose it?
It was all of those things, and I'll go into detail. There was another component too, that I am married, and I told my spouse at the time, and she was very encouraging. She understood what the risk was. I went from making good money at VA to taking a $40,000 pay cut to go work in the nonprofit sector to make a little money, to founding this company and making no money, right? That's a big financial impact to our family, and I could not have done that without the support of my spouse. So that was one very critical component to have. But the time and attention and the skill sets and traits that I learned working within, the Marine Corps and VA and SVA all played a role in that decision to give me the confidence to say, I know I have the skill set to do this. I just need to apply it. And that's been true every single day. The best decision that I made was to found the company, to go off on my own. And my wife and I had an agreement. We said, if this is not profitable within the first year, then I was going to close the business and go back into the private sector, the federal sector. So I gave myself a deadline. I'm a very deadline-driven person. I've learned that through my military service and working in the federal sector. And so that gave me something to strive for and to achieve. And it was one of the best possible decisions I could have made. So I spent that first year really honing in on my business acumen. I was like you said, I went into the Bunker Labs program, which was tremendously helpful. I went and was part of the Bush Institute Veteran Leadership Program. And I said, I'm going to spend the next year, probably 24 months, investing in myself to become the best possible business owner. And that's what I did. So that choice and that decision played a direct role in our continuation and ability to continue serving clients 5 or 6 years later.
So year one's coming to an end. The success failure criteria is there. What was it like when you're talking with your wife? And kudos to her for being so supportive. Strong relationship there, and you're both realizing that, hey, we're gonna meet the goal, we're gonna achieve the objective. Did you all ask yourselves what's next, or was it just a feeling of relief? What was you met the objective, now what's next?
It wasn't like that because I self-identify as a veteran entrepreneur today. Like
Okay.
the 30-second elevator pitch is I'm Barrett Bogue. I'm a veteran entrepreneur. I run a full-service PR firm called Evocati PR, and we support clients in the nonprofit and agriculture and military-connected sectors. It wasn't like that because literally every day I'm thinking about what's next. Every single day. What is needed for the firm to grow? What is needed for us to survive? What kind of talent do we need to bring in? Who are the prospective clients that we're looking at and meeting with? So there was that moment where we realized this has an opportunity to become a brand and to grow. And after that, there were no annual check-ins. It was just being aware of what were the upcoming changes and things like that to the firm. So I think more than anything, it kind of gave me the freedom and the permission slip to continue doing this job and continue growing the firm. And it's been that way ever since.
So about the firm itself,
Yeah.
one, Evocati, what is that? And then, how do you actually, let's start with Evocati first, and then I'll go to my next question, please. Thank
Yeah.
you.
The weird name. So in coming up with the brand, I knew what I didn't want. I did not want red, white, and blue, or an eagle or a flag, but I still wanted some way to connect it back to my military service. Like I wanted that representation in the name and in the branding. And so, because I wanted it to be able to kind of have that association without being explicit. So what I learned was that the Evocatus were back in Roman antiquity. The Evocatus were the first kind of version in classical antiquity of a professional reserve force. So the Evocatus were Roman legionnaires who served, I think it was 12 or 16 years in the legion, and then they left, and Emperor Augustus added him to his payroll as an Evocatus or a reserve legionnaire to come and serve when needed, when called. And I loved that idea of like, hey, we can be a force in waiting to come and help clients who need us. And so Evocati PR was born. That was the inspiration behind the name.
That's really cool. I never thought of it that way before, but that does work, and it sticks out in my mind. Like I never forgot Evocati
Yeah.
the minute I heard it. The business is in these sectors. You mentioned nonprofits, agriculture, and military. What particular challenges do those sectors have that you feel that you are well suited to meet for your clients?
So we're B2B, we're business to business. Prospective clients come to us with maybe one or two of the following problems. In the nonprofit sector, which is very resource constrained because it's nonprofit, they'll normally have one person who's wearing all the hats: PR, marketing, fundraising, etc. And they need help. They need somebody to come in and engage with the media on their behalf, help with planning social media marketing campaigns. They need to exponentially increase the number of people who are doing that work at an efficient price point. And so that's what we offer. So you contract with us to do PR and marketing for your nonprofit, and you went from having one person to nearly six for a fraction of the cost that you would pay for hiring one full-time person. Other challenges that prospective clients have is you could be a brand new business or a brand new nonprofit, and you don't have any branding, you don't have a logo, you don't have a go-to-market strategy to announce what you're doing. You don't have an editorial calendar or any kind of social media, marketing calendar, anything in place that you would need to effectively launch and sustain your brand. And so we can come in, and we've done that for clients. We come in and help you develop your brand story, your marketing, your logo. We get you placed in the media, and capture share of voice as well. Other challenges, and it's not all that common, but prospective clients will reach out to us because there's been a couple like negative news stories about them, and they don't have an ability to respond because they don't have anybody wearing the media hat, and they don't have anybody to go out and engage with the media. And so they're trying to do all that in-house, and they realize they need a team of professionals to help do that. But ultimately, it comes down to another maxim for your audience to know is this: if you as a business and a business leader or a business owner, if you're not telling your company's story, somebody's going to tell it for you. If you're not telling your story, somebody's going to tell it for you, and that can be a problem. So you've got to shape people's opinion, and you've got to be very active in shaping your brand and your company and what it's doing. So that storytelling component is very critical for what we do at Evocati PR.
So that's what I want to understand, because everybody's different. Perspectives are all different. How would you look at somebody, or how do you look at somebody? When I say somebody, a business, a client, and say, you know what, I think this is what your story should be to get the best outcome for what you're trying to do. Is that like an art? Because storytelling is a process, but sometimes not linear, if you understand what I'm trying to get
It's
at.
not, and we do that because of the great people that we have working for us, who
Okay.
have the experience to identify the stories that we believe are going to resonate within the community and to capitalize on that. You can't get that from AI. You can only get that through experience, and we have a really great team to help do that.
Well,
What we tell clients and prospective clients is that we're not a PR firm. We are a problem-solving company disguised as a PR firm. Okay? We're a problem-solving company disguised as a PR firm. You tell us what problem you're having or what challenge you're having, and we're going to work with you to solve it. And those problems can be, I'm not getting enough, coverage in Fox News. That's always a, really popular one. In the nonprofit sector, it's, hey, we're not making a dent in fundraising. It could be, we have this nonprofit program that is fantastic. We're just not getting enough people to apply to it. And there's also some business coaching part of it from my own experience as an entrepreneur that we bring to the table. Like, hey, we're thinking about hiring this position. Do you guys have any experience with that? What do you think about that? And we can advise them on that. So that's really kind of the key way that it is about identifying those storytelling opportunities, but more importantly, the most important thing is how do we identify the value that we can provide back to clients? And more often than not, it's about helping them solve problems within their company.
I was going to talk about AI later, but we'll do it now because you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I do hear and read a lot that, hey, I'm a boutique PR person, marketing person, and I have all this AI back end, so I can offer you a different rate. I can offer you a different outcome because I'm using AI. But you just said that AI is not really a difference maker versus a human who can extract that story. Why is that, Barrett?
AI is very good at completing tasks, doing research. I think in 2025, we're going to see a lot of really interesting developments in terms of AI agent. But what it's missing right now is the human element of saying, I think this is an interesting story, and I think this reporter at this outlet would really, really like to know about it. Let me pick up the phone and call them and have a one-on-one conversation and pitch it to them. AI is just not going to be able to do that. Now, that being said, we have, I mean, you probably know this, we have more AI than I know what to do with. Every single platform, every single piece of software that we use now has some type of AI component.
Yeah.
They're all introducing AI, and it's great, and it's helping shrink the time that it takes to complete tasks within the company, as well as helping us generate really effective content for clients. How we use it today, besides kind of shrinking the task time, is we've got our own model that we've trained on all of our clients. So we take a lot of the branding, target audiences, key messages, past social media and press releases, and we've trained an AI model on that client's voice. So we can go to that model and say, hey, we want you to help us come up with a campaign launching, this new nonprofit service. We want you to use all these training materials that we have inside to help us come up with all of the copy and campaign materials. And it thus far, it performs at a level of probably a really effective intern is what it puts out. But we have no intention of using AI to replace people inside the firm. And what clients have said is they like the fact that we're investing time in training AI so that it's not putting out something that's generic or not in their brand voice, but that it absolutely represents them. And then finally, the product that it puts out does undergo human input and human review. We don't send anything that's AI created directly to a client. We take a look at it first to make sure that it's consistent and that it's going to achieve the objective that we want to achieve with our client.
One of the things that you mentioned is the client's voice, and the AI has a trouble, extrapolating that and giving the client their voice. But on the other hand is, how do you look at a client and find their voice and then match it to what you're trying to do? Because every client's different, every person's different, and you can have a team and they can hear or see 5 different things. How does that aspect of what you do works?
It's a very involved process,
Okay.
or at least for us at Evocati PR. I think at a traditional PR firm, from what I know, because prospective clients will get quotes and they've talked to other PR firms, and PR firms, traditional ones, are really focused on sending as many pitches as possible to media outlets and getting you mentioned. We don't approach it that way. Our role, like I said, is to provide maximum value back to the client, and that could look differently. So when we go and pitch a story, there's with a firm intentionality that we're going to be very successful in capturing this media hit for this client. So we don't spam like a bunch of reporters with a bunch of pitches in the hopes that, 1% agree to interview a client. Finding that voice is a bit of a proprietary secret sauce that we have at
Sure.
Evocati PR, but there's a process that we go through in onboarding a new client that says we need to have these elements, these things that we have to have together. I won't say what they all are, but some of them are like, we need to identify your top 4 target audiences, and we need to create target audience personas. What's their age? What's their income bracket? Where do they consume media? What do they like? We take all of that and we put it all together. We start training the AI on it, but we also use it for our own, up in here. And we use that to help you come up with, what's the most, based upon this information, what is the storyline that we feel like is going to most resonate with that audience and with that reporter. So it could be something like, hey, you want to reach the general public as well as military veterans with this product, and you want them to know about it. And we learn through discovery that, hey, this product is 100% made in America, and all of our employees are, it's all of our offices are in America, and all of our employees live here. So it's like 100% made in America. Okay, that's really good. We think like in this moment in time, in this environment, with this audience, we think the fact that your product is 100% made in America will resonate. So let's build out a campaign around that. When we talk to reporters, let's tell them, hey, this is a great product, 100% made in America, by the way. So like, oh, really? That's really interesting. Let's talk more about that. So it is a little bit of art involved in it that we can only do through the experience that our team members bring to the company.
PR firms develop a client base over time. I'm curious to know, do you have any clients still that signed up with you when you first started? How's that relationship like? Because if they've been with you for a while, their needs are going to change as they grow or go through market fluctuations, and you've got to be, for lack of a better term, Semper Gumby in order to deal with that.
Yeah, I use Semper Gumby a lot in talking with clients. So a little bit of history about the firm. When I started Evocati, it was a solopreneur. I was it. And I had a consulting part of the company and then a PR part of the company. And I did that for 3 or 4 years. And so I would consult with other businesses that wanted to attract, support, and engage military connected talent. So I would come in and basically audit their ability to do that. And then I was also doing PR, which I was engaging with media and sending out press releases, etc. The consulting side and the PR side, what I learned through trial and error was that I was trying to run 2 different business models inside the same company, and I couldn't focus on both. I had to choose one. So I put all of the consulting work, the research, all of that stuff that we've done, I put that to the side and said, I'm pausing that, and it's been paused. This was in 2020 or 2021. And I said, I'm going to focus solely on building out the PR side of the business and building out a firm. And so that's what I did. And I said, I'm going to build a boutique PR firm. And one of the things that I was very, very insistent on was we're not going to grow exponentially. I have no desire to grow fast. I want to grow the firm purposefully, because this is a lifestyle company for us. I want to be able to live the life that I want to live while working on Evocati PR. And so I brought in, one of the best business decisions I've ever made was I brought in a business partner named Mark Zemansky, who has experience in the military connected sector. He previously worked at IAVA, but he also has experience in the agriculture sector with the National Potato Council. And we came in and said, let's combine our companies and bring it into Evocati PR, and let's start servicing the agriculture sector and the nonprofit military connected sector. And so some of our longest standing client relationships are right around 4-5 years old now. And we value long-term client relationships over short-term wins. And so we've been working with Soldiers, Angels, and NPC for many, many years now. And we've brought in others to the client family. We are a values-based company. Those values are up on our website. And we're very, very particular about who we choose to work with. And we go through a very extensive discovery session over two different meetings with prospective clients. And we have told prospective clients before, like, you don't really fit in with us. You don't really your value sets are very different from ours. And so we're just going to choose not to work with you. But for my business partner, Mark, and I, it's very important that what Mark likes to say is, I want to get up in the morning and be very excited about the work that we're doing. And so that means that we have to be very particular about the type of clients that we work with. And we've got some really, really good ones.
As you go into the rest of 2025, and you've been in business now for doing this focus portion of your business for this length of time, 4 or 5 years, do you have any forecasting you can do about the future of Evocati? Is it still going to be based on knowing your customer, maintaining your values, and delivering at a high value, or do you see yourself expanding in any other sector? What's next for you, Bogue?
The focus for 2025 is to continue to provide a high level of value back to our existing client base. We are expanding. We just announced 2 new clients over the past 30 days. One is the Northwest Rally Association, which is so awesome. They host rally car races in the Pacific Northwest. They are the nation's fastest growing rally sports organization in the US. The reason why they appealed to us, besides having a great ownership team, is the fact that 25% of their racers, their competitors, are military veterans.
Oh, wow.
We were blown away by that. And as we kind of learned more about their business and how races happen and what takes place, we realized it makes a lot of sense for this sport to appeal to veterans. And so we said, we've got to jump on this. We've got to be the first ones in. The other one is PDS Optical. They control 90% of the eyeglass and eyewear market for veterans like me, who receive their healthcare through VA. And what they've seen is that they have a really great position inside VA, but a lot of veterans don't know that they qualify for free eyewear through VA. So they want to engage in a very wide-ranging PR and marketing campaign to educate veterans on the fact that you can get free eyewear through VA. And they're a veteran-led company, and they're a values-led company. They're great. There's a third one that's not public yet, but I'm very excited to announce that probably within the next 2 weeks. That's really going to accelerate our work. So it's strategically growing out the client base within the military connected and agriculture sectors. And then the second thing is bringing in highly qualified, highly energetic talent into the team to help serve these clients. And that's it. Like I said, it's nothing grand, it's nothing big. I said, very clearly, we want to be very intentional about how we grow. And that's what we're looking at for 2025.
Well, maybe you don't have to be big to deliver big.
No, no, you don't.
I think that's the lesson here. How can people watching this, and we're in this marketing exercise called Oscar Mike Radio, which is this podcast about military and veterans. How can people connect with you, Barrett, and your company and the services you offer?
Yeah, so just go to our website, evocatipr.com or evocatillc.com, and then click on Contact Us, and there's a scheduling embed right there, and that's actually direct to my calendar. I don't tell people that, but I'll tell your audience. So that actually just gets it right on my calendar, and I'm more than happy to take a call if you're interested in PR and marketing support. But for this audience in particular, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter or X. Give me a follow, shoot me a connection request. But if you're a transitioning service member or a service member, or if you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking about starting your own business and you just want to talk and you might need some coaching, I'm more than happy to make myself available to anybody who's interested in starting their own company, to help you, to prevent you from making the mistakes that I made. So that's the best way to find me, is through our website, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Well, Barrett, this time just flew by, and there's so much more to unpack that I'm going to have to ask you to come back on. We'll work that out. But this has been just like a masterclass in taking your education, your military experience, benefiting from that, find your way, and then really betting on yourself and delivering at a high value to the people that trust you with their story, their brands, their companies, their livelihood. Um, I need more than 1 hour, so I want to work that out.
You bet. We'll make a promise right here on the record to come back. I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about my journey, but more importantly, to show genuine interest and to ask really engaging questions. I agree. There's probably a lot more that we can explore together, and I look forward to that. Otherwise, it was my privilege to come talk about the great work that our team is doing at Evocati PR.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100% will make that work. And again, this is just really highlighting how amazing the veteran business owner is, what they've been through, and the desire they have to serve people in their own communities, nationwide, wherever they are. And Northwest Rally Racing, well, I like racing in this household, and we do, and we'll check that out because to me, I know that NASCAR and Formula One, Barrett, who's the best, but I'm in the minority. I think the rally guys are truly the best at the racing craft. I mean, you're a little unhinged getting in that car, going 5 feet from trees and cliffs and getting it done. I mean, it's a different kind of skill. Though, and the trees are hard. I mean, all the time.
Yeah, their secret sauce, and maybe we can do a deep dive into our clients later, but their secret sauce at the Northwest Rally Association is that it is 100% accessible for amateurs and professionals. They do world-class training. You can even take your car today, like minivans, right? And go participate. Like, they have really innovative course designs. And so it's fantastic.
Awesome, awesome. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you have another aspect of the veteran experience here and the Marine Corps. And, Barrett, I know Chesty is proud right now, no doubt about it. So thank you for coming on. Thank you all for watching. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we're mission in flight. Thank you.
The biggest fear Gold Star families have that their child will be forgotten.
We need to never forget freedom wasn't free.
It's the fact that they give us the life we have now. We should remember them and give thanks to them.
If I can be a part of something today that's going to make the surviving family of any of these veterans, these heroes, feel better tomorrow, then it's worth it.
That one wreath symbolizes one family that was able to smile because of the generous donations.
To sponsor a wreath and honor a veteran, visit wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.